There's a new drug in America that's tearing our families apart. It's decimating our communities, it's ruining our youth, and it's poisoning the minds of good American citizens, and you may not have even heard about it, but you may be taking it. Melatonin.
80% of adults struggle with sleep.
Many people who have trouble sleeping use melatonin.
You should never take a dose of melatonin that's more than 10 milligrams.
It does have risks of its own.
Melatonin is not regulated by the same rules as prescription and over-the-counter drugs. Be aware of possible side effects.
It's ruining your life, and it's giving you nightmares. This is why. Melatonin is probably causing some terrible, terrible nightmares for you that you think are your fault and you don't know how to get rid of them, but it's actually the melatonin that you take every night that's causing these to happen inside of your brain. Stay to the end and I'll tell you why your anxiety is interacting with your melatonin to give you the worst possible nightmares. Class is in session, and this is what melatonin is actually doing to your body and brain. That's not what you intended. Mind-blowing fact number one, melatonin doesn't actually help you sleep. I know. You're like, Jesse, that can't possibly be true. Melatonin signals to your body and brain that it's time to sleep, but doesn't help the sleep process itself. Now, it does a couple things that are important, and this is why you have the nightmares. So let's get into those. Melatonin is like the person at the starting line of a race who fires the gun into the air. They're the one that says it's time to start racing. They're not actually helping the runners run any faster. Melatonin is a naturally occurring hormone inside your brain that about 2 hours before you're ready to go to sleep, it starts building up inside of your mind. So you start secreting from your hormone glands and all that stuff and building up inside your brain. It's like, oh, I feel sleepy. That's melatonin. Melatonin is the one doing that. Now, if you're taking melatonin on the regular, one, you're gonna be messing with your natural circadian rhythm. Two, you're gonna actually build up a dependence on melatonin, and some research has shown that melatonin taken over a while can create a dependence where your body can now struggle to produce that melatonin naturally. It is a drug addiction. It's like if you drink enough alcohol, you become dependent on it. If you smoke cigarettes, you become addicted to it. If you start taking it too consistently and every single night, you will create a dependence in your mind that your body won't know how to start signaling it's time to fall asleep without taking that melatonin gummy. Now, what melatonin does while you sleep is it does change the ratio. There's two kinds of sleep. There's deep sleep and REM sleep. REM is when your eyes are moving underneath your eyelid, and it's the most intense dreaming phase. It does increase the amount of REM sleep that you're getting, and so you are going to increase the intensity and the vividness of dreams because you're changing that ratio. And instead of getting that deep recuperative sleep, you're getting the dream sleep, which is the part where your mind's very, very active, and so you may even wake up more tired, even though you fell asleep faster. But melatonin is an over-the-counter drug. Well, it's an over-the-counter supplement, the way that it's classified. And because of that, it is not regulated to the same level as like a prescription medication, which means that they can get away with some shady shit on the bottle. A recent research study said that 71% of melatonin supplements were labeled incorrectly. It was so inaccurate, it was either 83% less than was advertised on the label, or 478% more than was advertised on the label. So if you're taking a 5 milligram melatonin gummy, it could be 20 milligrams. Here's where that gets wild, okay? The recommended dose of melatonin is 1 to 3 milligrams. Most doctors will say that 10 milligrams or less is the only safe dosage. And if you are the type of person who gets the 10 milligram max strength gummies and takes 2 of them before you go to sleep, you have double overdosed on melatonin. That's gonna fuck you up. You're already double dosing on the melatonin, and the label is 400% wrong. No wonder when you go to sleep, your dreams are just insane because your brain doesn't know what's going on. The closest thing that I can describe to this is a fever dream. When your brain is literally on fire because you have a fever, you're gonna have some really weird nightmares, or at least dreams, right? Some weird dreams because your brain is trying to process, why is our mind hot? If you have 4 times the overdose level of melatonin inside of your brain, you're not even processing your emotional content at that point, which is the benefit of dreams. Your mind is just trying to make sense of what you just did to it. A lot of times people will come in like, oh, I had this crazy, crazy nightmare. And I'm like, wait. Hold up. Did you take an insane amount of melatonin before you go to bed? Well, Jesse, what's an insane amount of melatonin? The amount that you're taking. A lot of people take melatonin right before they go to bed, but you may not know it takes some time to metabolize and to digest that melatonin into your bloodstream. Really, 2 hours. So if you're trying to go to bed at midnight, you need to take your melatonin at 10. If you're trying to go to bed at 2 a.m., take it at midnight. If you're trying to go to bed at 10 a.m., you need to start that early at 8 p.m. That's where a lot of people make this mistake, and they're like, this melatonin's not working, and then they pop another couple gummies thinking that's gonna speed it up, but it's really not doing you any favors. And if you're a naturally anxious person, this is why melatonin is seriously the worst advice I could ever give you. Did you know that melatonin also has some pretty intense side effects? I'm gonna read the bottle for you. Vomiting, trouble breathing, blood pressure problems, stomach problems, and because it's a hormone, it can affect the other hormones in your body. And we know that hormones are the chemicals that help us regulate our emotions and feel sane throughout the day. So you're throwing the whole system off. The scariest thing about melatonin, and the #1 problem that I run into with my clients, if you are a naturally anxious person, much less somebody who has experienced intense trauma or even single event trauma in your life, and that's the reason that you're struggling to sleep, when you take that melatonin gummy, you are directly fighting against what your mind is trying to do to heal you. Your mind is staying hyper vigilant and hyper aware because you're stressed, you're anxious, you have trauma in your past. Your brain doesn't feel safe to fall asleep. Here I am in a state of panic, anxiety, and stress because sleeping is a vulnerable situation for me. And then I take melatonin, throwing myself into sleep without my body being naturally calm and prepared for it, while also giving it the most intense dreams that you can possibly have. You're gonna have the worst experience. You haven't dealt with the anxiety and the stress, so your mind is overloaded while sleeping, trying to process that anxiety and stress. And now you've taken a hormone that's gonna make those dreams even more intense. It's seriously the worst advice that anybody could ever give you. Instead, finding ways to increase and improve your sleep outside of taking melatonin is gonna be really the best solution for you. If you still are gonna take melatonin, despite all of my advice. If you're gonna take melatonin, make sure it's a US Pharmacopoeia verified brand. You can check on the bottle, they've got like a little sticker, a little logo that you can find, because what that does is it verifies that the level of melatonin in that gummy is accurate to what's advertised on the bottle. And it's also gonna verify that there's no other contaminants inside of that gummy that may be interacting one with another or interacting negatively with you. It's clean, it's pure, it's the right stuff, and it's the right amount. Key #2 is use it responsibly. Melatonin is great if you're jet lagged. You know, you're in a new time zone and you need to reset your bio clock. Melatonin is the perfect way to do it because it just kickstarts you into the right situation, right? You may be wide awake, but it's nighttime in this new place that you've traveled to. Take a little melatonin, your brain's like, oh, it's sleepy time now. Only take it for a couple days if you possibly can, just to get it right on track. So that way you can make that natural melatonin hormone yourself without relying on the medication. If I've been helpful at all, please hit the subscribe button. This is a relationship, right? I help you out, you help me out. I scratch your back, you scratch mine. You can scratch that subscribe button right there down below. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.